What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout Spot where you already know it's Real Talk Sports Talk. Life on my man cave. It's your boy Johnny, and let's talk boxing because today I have a very, very special guest, and it's very rare that you get an opportunity to speak to a true GOAT in his profession. And in my opinion, I don't think there's anyone, that's better at his craft as a professional cut man in the sport of boxing than this gentleman I'm about to introduce, having many, many years of experience working in both MMA and in professional boxing. Whether you are a casual or you're a hardcore boxing head, at some point you've definitely seen this guy work in the corners with some of the best fighters in the world. He's worked with legendary fighters like the Klitschko brothers, Hall of Famer Andre Ward, former champion Chris Algieri. He's also worked with the former heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury. But if you haven't seen him in the ring, I guarantee you that you've probably seen him on the big screen, having appeared in movies side by side with Sylvester Stallone in the last Rocky installment. And he's also been the cutman for Adonis Creed in all three Creed movies alongside Michael B. Jordan. So when I say this guy is a true legend, I'm not lying. So without further ado, I want to introduce legendary cutman Jacob Stitch Duran. My man, how are you? Welcome to the Hangout Spot, man.
Hey, I feel legendary, not with that introduction, bro. Kind of embarrassed me, man. To say shit. You
deserve it. Like I said, man. I mean, listen, it doesn't get any better than you. I mean, I've been a huge fan for years. I'm a huge boxing fan. Ton of respect for what you do. I don't think that people realize how important and vital to the success of a fighter, that a cut man is. I mean, you guys, in most cases, decide whether a fighter, potentially wins a fight or loses a fight. Yeah. And it's extremely, extremely important. So nothing but respect for you. In fact, I want to take this opportunity to salute you with both hands.
My man, appreciate it. Yeah, it's been an adventure, bro. I'm just a little Chicano that grew up as a farm worker in the Central Valley of California, and here I am at the top of the world and, just kind of getting better and better as life goes on. So, yeah, but at the end of the day, I earned my stripes, giving back, teaching, taking care of fighters, and so I've been blessed, man, so appreciate you hanging me out, man. Nothing like the hangout. That's what we talked about earlier, right? I remember BJ Penn, when I was with the UFC, he used to say, talk story. Yeah, Stitch, come on, man, we'll get on the radio, we'll talk stories, and that's exactly what it is. So thanks for having me on.
No, absolutely. Thanks for joining me, man. It's an absolute honor. But tell me, so when did Jacob Duran become Stitch Duran? Like, how far back? How long have you been in the world of professional combat sports?
Yeah, listen, I've been there in Vegas 29 years. I had a school of kickboxing in Fairfield, California. And if you remember the world champion Dennis Alexio, that was the brother for Jean-Claude Van Damme in the movie Kickboxer, was an actual world champion. So he was fighting, and so was his sparring partner, Dave Rooney. And I was working both fights, and I was learning to be a cutman. I was a trainer way before I was a cutman, but I had to learn all aspects of the game. And I used to see these other cutmen just visually because they would never tell you their secrets, quote unquote, right? So I would see these guys get little pieces of tape and make little strips, butterfly. And when Dave Rooney ended up with a cut, I ended up butterflying it. And he says, man, I don't have to go to the hospital. You send me some stitches and call you Stitch. And that's where the name came from, Dave Rooney. And last I heard from David is he was one of my kickboxers, was that he was a fisherman somewhere in Alaska. So I don't even know if he knows how much he changed my life, bro. And there's people that don't even know my first name.
Yeah. Well, I got to be honest with you. I've always known you by Stitch, so I had to look up. I found you on Instagram, so I had to look up what your first name was because it's
it's funny because I'm doing. You mentioned the Creed movies. I'm doing my third movie with Michael B. Jordan, right? And every day it's just him and I. I wrap his hands in the dressing room or in the trailer, wherever. And I said, this is my third fight with him. All of a sudden, I said, Michael, do you know my real name? He says, Stitch. I said, no. Do you know my real name? He says, I don't. Hey, anybody know Stitch's real name? Yeah. So that was, wow. Yeah. So there's other people don't know my real name. Just cool with me.
I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah. No, don't feel bad at all, bro. It's the world is like that. Hey man, what's your real name? These are my friends. Hey, what's your real name? And I like to mess with the boxers now when I'm wrapping their hands and that's it. Like Andrew Maloney from Australia. I've worked with him many fights, world champion. I said, Andrew, do you know my real name? Yeah. You know, I kind of put him on the spot, you know. And so, yeah, just make it fun, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most popular nicknames in the world in professional sports. I mean, you say Stitch, people know who you are.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So, so you started. So you were training first, and then you started doing MMA before boxing, correct?
Yeah, well, I started in kickboxing.
Right.
You know, I had my school of kickboxing. When I was stationed I was in the Air Force. They stationed me in Thailand in 1974 for 1 year, and I studied the martial arts there, the Muay Thai system, and Taekwondo, and opened up my school of kickboxing, and that's when I learned all aspects of the game, and that's what got me here. So when I moved to Vegas, I came here, it was boxing only, and but I was good as a cut man, so I came here not to be a trainer because I thought all the great trainers in the world were here in Vegas, right? But I would see them doing things that I could do, you know. So I started training fighters, but I had a job, so I couldn't do it full time. And then being a cut man, and my first coming out fight was Raul Marquez. He fought Keith Mullins, and he was the IBF middleweight champion. He ended up with 5 cuts, and I kept him in the game. That's when Oscar fought Camacho that same night, and then kept him in the game. And people, man, who is this guy? So that was my start. And then I knew Dana in the in the gyms, and I was doing a K1 kickboxing at the Bellagio, and Mike Tyson was in the audience, and Dana asked me for my card, and the next day he called and said, "Look, man, we bought the UFC, and interested to see if you'd be interested in being one of the house cutmen, me and Leon Tabs." And that's how I got started. You know, he changed my life to that point, and fired me and changed my life to that point. You know, so no, everything worked out great, thank God.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to ask you about that whole MMA deal because you know, you were a fixture there, and you know, when that whole thing went down, I believe it was in 2015, right?
Something like that. I don't know. Yeah,
something,
like 9 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, there were a lot of MMA fighters that were actually talking about, you know, how, you know, it wasn't right. Like they didn't appreciate that, you know, you were dismissed. What happened? What with that whole ordeal, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I don't mind at all, bro. It's well, you know, we used to, when Dana brought us in, he was smart enough, got to give him credit, that MMA was such a new sport that guys didn't know how to wrap hands or didn't know how to work cuts. So Dana was smart enough to bring in professional cutmen, myself and Leon Tabs. Leon Tabs was literally the godfather of MMA cutmen. He was from UFC #1. And when Dana and the Fertitas bought UFC, he came along. And so Dana wanted a cutman in each corner. And once they found out that I could wrap good hands, I was doing 7 or 8 fighters a night, you know, and working all the fights. But that was enjoyment. It was a great job. But we were all working with sponsors, and fighters were making $50,000, $100,000 a fight, free money. I was making money, watches, and you know, just different companies, apparel, and they went exclusive with the Reebok deal, and really didn't notify the fighters or anything, and they took all the sponsors away from everybody, including us. And so John Nash from BloodyApple.com, never met the man. He called me out of the blue and says, "Would you be interested in doing an interview how the Reebok deal affected the company?" Well, being like I said earlier, I grew up as a farm worker, so my parents during the farm worker years, they fought for the rights of farm workers with Cesar Chavez, and he was like our Martin Luther King, you know. And so I thought about them. I said, man, if I'm gonna do the interview, you know, they wouldn't be proud of me. So the interview was very politically correct, but it went viral. And they friends called me right here where I'm sitting at, same exact spot. Friends called me and they said, "Do you have time to talk?" And I knew what it was about because everybody was effing Dana, UFC, and Reebok. And my friends, the only thing they said is, because of the interview you did about Reebok, the UFC is not going to use you no more. And that was like so I said, all right, well, you tell Dana, I said, he ain't got no balls, that he should have called me first since he's the one that brought me in. So the first tweet that I get, and I'm getting hundreds, bro. I mean, tons. First message that I get, I'm sitting right here. I let the guy know, I think his name was David Estrada. And I want you to be the first to know, UFC let me go. for speaking out about the Reebok deal. Now I got to find a new job. Well, after that, I did 57 interviews in a week. Had camera crews come to my house. Biggest thing in MMA, and fans are applauding me. People, employees from the UFC were applauding me. Everybody, Wesley Snipes comes and shakes my hand and, congratulates me. Goldberg and, hey man, proud of you. And so, but the best compliment I got, hey Johnny, was during the COVID, we did boxing at the MGM here in Las Vegas in the bubble. And one of the top Brazilian coaches, hadn't seen him in 8 years. He comes up to me, and of all the compliments I've gotten, I still get them all over the world. He says, Stitch, we, the coaches, the fighters, we thank you for speaking up because we couldn't. Bro, that said it all. And I saw Luis a couple of months ago, give him a big hug again, and just, it gives me chills even just talking about it now. But that said everything. So, yeah. And then Dana blows it a couple of weeks later, after the dust is settling, and he's on Fox Network, and Karen Bryant's asking him about me, and the dust is settling already. And he ends up blowing it and says, you know what? Stitch was never my friend. Boy, that still hangs on him,
Wow.
Stupidness. So anyway, I'm good. I've been blessed.
Listen, at the end of the day, and I applaud you for that as well. Listen, when one door closes, sometimes another one that's better opens.
Yeah.
And, which kind of opened up the door for you to go full time with boxing, which is
right.
what you've been doing, since then, full time. And, like I said in my introduction, I see you almost every weekend. Somewhere along the lines in a big fight, you're there in someone's corner, whether it's a champion, a contender, a future Hall of Famer. So, much respect to you, what you're doing. Like I said, it speaks volumes with the way that people have spoken about you, prior or while you were at the UFC.
Yeah.
When the whole thing went down. But do you enjoy doing professional boxing as opposed to what you were doing in UFC?
Yeah, man, they're both great, bro. And don't forget, I was also doing the bare knuckle fights with Dave Feldman in Florida. When Dave first started, I started with him. And I love working with him. All these guys get cut, and I don't have to wrap hands, so it's the best of both worlds, right? And I loved working with Dave, and till this day, I give him major props because he runs a good ship. And then COVID kicked in. And then that kind of kept us going. And then when they started, they were doing shows back in Florida. But Top Rank called me. And they were doing 16 shows in the bubble at the MGM here on ESPN. And same thing, they asked if I would be a house cut man during the COVID. And I lived 20 minutes from the MGM, and it was a great opportunity. So we did the same thing we did with the UFC. We offered our services to these fighters because they could only bring 2 coaches, and everything was on lockdown. So they liked the program so much that they kept us. So I do a lot of work with them, but it's under the same thing. But yeah, I got this weekend off. I was in San Diego, did a show last weekend, and then I was just telling my wife my new schedule. I got the next 5 weeks booked already. From New York to everywhere to everywhere. Miami. I'll be in Miami. And so yeah, everywhere.
Will you be in Miami for the the Teofimo fight?
Teofimo will be there. Robesi, Nico Ali. It's gonna be a good card.
Yeah, so I'll probably be attending that.
Cool.
Yeah. So that is gonna be
in New York for the Puerto Rican weekend.
Xander's Eyes headlining.
Yeah.
No, that's going to be a good one as well. But I'm not surprised. Because like I said, every weekend it looks like you got something going on.
Yeah, what makes it even special, and I'm proud of, and I hope to continue this journey this way. I've never asked for one job. I'm just a proud Chicano, and I can't kiss nobody's ass, man. Hey, man, can I? That's just not my nature, right? So I do it through performance, and I think that's what counts more than anything else.
No, much respect. Listen, like I said, it's very, very challenging. How challenging is it to handle a cut in a minute? Because especially when it's bad area, you got on the eyelid, on the eyebrow. On the top of the head with Tszyu and Fundura. Which I want to get your take on that.
Yes,
I want to get.
Now it's been basically you're looking at 50 seconds. Because by the time the bell rings, that time you get up there, depending on where the fighter's at. So you sacrifice 10 seconds. But yeah, it's just everything is based on time limit. You have to understand that 50-second time work that you have, and then you got to understand the type of cut, and what kind of pressure and what kind of medication and all that within 50 seconds and get out, you know. So yeah, but the Tim Tszyu fight, I've done a ton of interviews, man, and people ask me the same thing, and it's a shame because he trained here in Vegas. So, you know, I let him know about his father and so, and but that's why it's important to have a good team in your good corner in your team, because these guys, the whole team, literally blew his chance of keeping his world title. He lost his world title. Number one, that cut is there's certain different type of veins, and like the ones you see around here aren't. You know, when you laugh, that big one here,
Yes.
that big one. Okay, everybody, you laugh and you got that big line. Well, as that carries on here, they pop that vein. So that vein's a little bit bigger than the ones here. I know because I work with them with Forrest Griffith, with Klitschko. I've done them before, and they're Jay Haran. They're tough to stop. So what they should have done at that point, because it was before the start of the 5th round, and if they would have stopped it, it would have been a no contest because he couldn't see. They're not going to stop it. It would have been a no contest. He would have kept his world title. Now, even better yet, he would have had time to prepare for Fundora, that's 6'6", and keep his world title. So, you know, it's so important, man, to have a professional team with you, you know. And like when Klitschko, first time I worked with him, he ended up with that cut. And I knew he was winning the fight. When the doctor came and asked me, I opened up the cut, and I said, that's pretty bad. And she stopped it because I worked with her before the UFC. And I let Vladimir Vitali know that you got a bad cut, you're winning the fight, I'm going to have the doctor stop the fight. Went to the scorecards, he ended up winning the fight, thank God, and became world champion for 8 years. You know, so you have to understand the game more than just doing this, right? Yeah. And I ask these cut men, and I'll ask you, I don't expect you to know the answer, but here's how you educate your viewers. So the medication we use is the adrenaline chloride 1/1000 is by prescription. So you as a cutman, I'm asking you, because this is what I ask these cutmen, what is the medical function of the adrenaline chloride 1/1000? So I'm asking you as a cutman, what does it do?
Well, I would think that it would help with the blood flow, right? Like,
yeah, well, that's the answer I get, but that's not the answer I need. The answer of the adrenaline chloride 1/1000, when you put it on the cut, if you see me when I work on the cut, first thing I do is squeeze it. And what happens, you get those little blood vessels. When you squeeze it, you clean them out of the little veins. Then you put the adrenaline, which is the liquid, it absorbs into the vein and it closes up the veins. It's a vessel constrictor. See, now you know. So a lot of guys will tell me, oh, it's a coagulant. If they tell you it's a coagulant, get another cutman because it's wrong. Wow. He's following what other cutmen are doing, and it's wrong.
That's pretty fascinating. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I said. There's levels to this.
Yeah. You just, keep in mind that this game, every major sport, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, all of them, every major sport, the trainers have to be certified to train and certified to coach. We in boxing at the A level, none of us have to be certified to do what we do. Anybody, you could be a cutman. $50, you get your license with the state, put a towel over your shoulder, you're a cutman. And that's not fair to the fighters. And that's why I'm trying to change the game through education.
Absolutely not. That's going to be a game changer. Going back to the Tim Tszyu thing, I agree because, at that point, it didn't look like the blood was going to stop at all.
Not at all.
With them working on it, with what they were doing, I mean, as soon as he got up from the stool, blood was already squirting, blood was already coming down to his eyes. Like, that was not going to stop. There's no way why they should have continued that. Sometimes you got to, like they always say, you got to save the fighter from himself, right? Because the fighter's not going to want to quit.
100% right.
And I give him a lot of credit for fighting through that, from the 5th round on, half blind. I mean, with the blood in his eyes. I mean, that's tough. It really is. And you're right. It cost him his title. That's a shame. That's a shame. Is there that one, and I know you mentioned the Klitschko fight. Is that one defining moment that you can say was one that you could look back and go, wow, I did my best work there. I think I did.
That was I was very proud of that because it was my first fight working with him, right? And he had just come back from losing his world title to Lehman Brewster, so this was his first fight back, right? And I saw Emmanuel Stewart at that time was commentating for HBO, and me and my buddy Steve were watching fans walk into the MGM during one of the fights, and Emmanuel comes by. He says, "Stitch," he goes, "I want to talk to you about with Vladimir." And I look at my buddy and said, "You see what I saw?" So he called me the next day and says, "Look, man, Vladimir wanted the cut man that was his cut man in the movies Ocean's 11. And I was his cut man in the movies Ocean's 11. So that's how I started working with Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly, you know. And so I've been blessed with that, man. You know, just the way it happened. So there's let me see if I can find it. You're talking about monumental fights. When Vladimir Klitschko fought his last fight, when he fought Anthony Joshua, I didn't see Vladimir and Vitaly till Friday at the weigh-ins because my daughter had gotten married in Crete. I didn't get there till Thursday night, right? And so I'm talking to Vladimir and Vitaly, and finally, we're in the dressing room before the weigh-ins. Finally, I put my hand on him. Vladimir, I said, "Look, don't worry about nothing tomorrow. Take care of you like you're my son." And I leave because I know he can't, you know, they can't sleep, man. They're nervous and all that. Man, I'm putting the final Vaseline on him. We're about this far apart. We're about this far apart, putting the final Vaseline. And right before Michael Buffer does the announcement, there's 90,000 loud Brits, millions of people watching all over the world. And he looks at me and says, "You can call me son." Oh, bro, that, well, you can see what it did, you know. So when we're doing the Creed movie, like I say, Michael and them would always come to me for authenticity. So Michael asked me who should give away the WBC belt. That was going to be one of the belts in the movie. So I gave him the story of Suleiman and this and that. Anyway, I'm working with Ugas when he fights Earl Spence in Dallas, and I see Mauricio Suleiman, and I tell him the story how we represented the bout and all that. And both Vladimir and Vitaly were champions for the WBC, and they're fighting Russia. So he says, "Let's take a picture and let's send it to him. I'm going to let you listen to what Vladimir sent me and kind of let you know the relationship I had with him, bro. Hold on. Let me see. Here we go.
My two-third man, Specialist Stitch, with whom I spent so much time talking, and he actually saved my career on a lot of different stages. If Stitch wouldn't be in my corner, I would not make the record of 12 years being a champion. So that's so great to see you both. And Stitch is the man.
Right.
Amazing.
It's powerful, man. Yeah.
It is, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be proud, man.
Oh no, hey man, these moments, you know, they blow me away. And I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of world title fights. It's not even about that no more. It's about the characters I run into, you know, the storylines, you know, and those with these gladiators, these modern day gladiators, bro. It's just I'm the guy right here. I'm right in the middle. You don't think it blows my mind, you know? So, I mean, it's often when these guys give me a kiss and they tell me they love me, you know.
I tell you, man, I mean, you're special. And like I said, you guys are a vital piece of a boxer's success. And not a lot of people, you know, show you guys the appreciation that you obviously deserve. I mean, it goes a long way. And you've worked with a lot of fighters, a lot of great fighters. Who are your most favorite ones that you've worked with?
Man, I did them all. It's like I like you better than the other guy. Can't do that, man.
Yeah,
I work with every one of them. And the UFC, I work with every one of them. You give me a name, I'll give you a story. You know, boxing, I work with so many. You know, but I mean, got stories with every one of them. So can't give you one or the other, man. But yeah, with Barcel, this is the hangout. Ask me about a fighter in MMA. I'll tell you a story.
Randy Couture.
Yeah, Randy was always. I worked all his fights all the time. Randy was when I'm wrapping his hands, he's real jovial, joking around and this and that. But bro, once they closed that gate, he took that face off and he put the Randy Couture fight on. And you know, it's always been Jacob. He called me Jacob.
Very few, probably, right?
Yeah. Ask me about another UFC fighter. I'll give you a story, man.
I know you've worked with Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, Cain Velasquez, tons of times. Javier Mendez told me, because when I had my school of kickboxing, Javier Mendez was one of the fighters I worked with, right? He was from San Jose, and my fighters, Scott Coker, that had Bellator and Strikeforce, so we all came from that same clica. My fighters would fight under their cards, but Scott Coker or Cain Velasquez, Javier Mendez told me, he says, I got a Mexican heavyweight that's going to be a world champion. And shit, I hear that story all the time. Man, Cain was a world champion, and they're filming a documentary on my life. It's called From the Fields to the Garden. Growing up as a farmer with the fields and the garden, Madison Square Garden.
And
so,
you also a book.
Yeah, but it's a book now. It's going into a documentary. So, but Cain Velasquez came forward and gave me some strong words of appreciation. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But I remember he worked with. I worked with Brock Lesnar when Cain fought him, and Brock ended up with a big old major cut right here. And I'm working on him, and Brock told me, he said, Stitch, take care of me. I said, yeah, don't worry, man. I got you. Cain just, popped him up. So, yeah, that was the golden era, man, of MMA.
That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
It takes it way back. What about, give me a story about Andre Ward. I know you work.
Every time I knew Andre because I lived in Oakland once I got out of the military. Yeah. And I went to King's Gym, started learning how to box it because I was good in the Muay Thai system, the martial arts, but I wanted to learn my hands. And I started working with amateurs. But Andre was a young kid, and I used to sell M&M boxing equipment and shoes and all that from Mexico. And I had a pair of shoes, I gave it to him. But he always told me, he said, when I turn pro, I want you to be my cut man. And he turned pro, and I was his cut man. And I did every fight that he had except for two because I already had visas for UFC fights in like Brazil, different countries where you needed to get a visa. So I was already committed. But yeah, man, he is probably I always expected him to lose. His style of fighting. When he's fighting all these Mikhail Kessler and all these guys, but he beat every one of them. And through wasn't great, wasn't polished like a Mayweather or anything like that, but everything he did was right. And that's the thing that I got to give Andre credit with. And I remember he fought Edison Miranda in Oakland, and Edison got dirty with him. Andre got dirty with him. And I said, man, this kid is good, man. This kid is good.
Yeah, special fight. Yeah. What about Tyson Fury? Because I know he can be out there.
Yeah, Tyson, I worked with him after he got that big cut when he fought that guy. A friend of mine, Jorge Capetillo, was working with him, but he wasn't really a cut man. So every round he prayed, and he got him through, right? But he's one of the guys with Bob Arum that recommended me to work with him. and being that he fought Klitschko, but now I'm working with him, right? But that's the nature of the game. Mm-hmm. But when I first met him the first time was here at Top Rank at the gym. And I go up to him, we shake hands, and we talking. And I'm looking at his cuts and telling him that, the whoever sewed him up did a good job. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to wait till you start swelling. I'll keep ice on you every round. And we're talking that way and just understanding our responsibilities to each other, right? And then I talk about sponsors. And so, I work on sponsors. Would you mind if I make an outfit like yours, same colors, and then put my sponsors in? He puts his hand on my shoulder. Says, Stitch, you can do anything you want as long as they're not drugs, alcohol, or guns or weapons. And that was it. So, but when I told him I was going to keep ice on him every round, after his first fight, I can't remember who he won. Shit, too many fights. He fought Deontay Wilder the second time. And he has his shorts on. He's ready to go take a shower. I'm ready to leave. I'm saying goodbye. He gives me a hug and a kiss. And I got pictures that a reporter sent me. He gives me a kiss and says, something as simple as, thanks for keeping ice on me. I love you. No. What more do you want?
Special.
Frank Mir says, he said, man, when I see Stitch walking into the dressing room, my stomach just drops because I know it's time to fight. And then Vitor Belfort says, and I work with all these guys, but it's just a luck of the draw whoever I work with, right? And they understood that. But Vitor says, when I see Stitch walking into the dressing room, even though I know he's in the other team, he brings that calming effect, you know. And keep in mind, in the dressing rooms, these guys, it's the dungeon, bro. They're getting ready for battle, you know. And for me to take that away from him during those moments, those are what make it real, real special. And one more with MMA is the Ultimate Cheetah. When he beat Rashad Evans for the world title, his father is very, very proud Japanese shogunnish type of man. Very, very proud, very proper. And I have always worked with Lyoto. And after the fight, I go in the dressing room to congratulate him. And his father's sitting like this, is real proud. And Lyoto next to me says, Stitch, in the ring, you are my father. And father looks at me and just kind of, yes, you know, those are moments, bro.
Amazing.
Amazing, right? Yeah, amazing.
So you've worked with a ton of fighters, obviously, but is there that one fighter that you've never gotten the chance to work with that you
Roberto Duran, yes, of course. Roberto Duran and Alexis Arguello, two fighters I always wanted to work with.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was cool because I saw. And my last name is Duran too. I mean, yeah, you can tell. Yep. So I remember Zav Judah was fighting Tszyu at the Mandalay Bay, and I'm working in. I used to go host a radio show with MMA Junkie Radio, and we're walking into the arena, and Roberto Duran's walking out of the restroom. He comes up to me and gives me a hug and tells me in Spanish, "Man, I'm so proud that to see you representing the raza and this and that." And we hug, and he leaves, and my friend said, "Roberto Duran?" Yes, yeah. Blew me away, and but him and Alexis as well,
legendary fighters, man.
Yeah,
make them like that, man. I mean, those guys were special.
Yeah, oh yeah, tremendous.
Tremendous fighters. So let's pivot a little bit, and of course, I'm here with legendary cutman Stitch Duran. Acting, how did that come about?
I'm not an actor. No. Hey, it's just pure luck. I'm telling you.
But listen, there aren't many people that can say that they worked alongside Sylvester Stallone and Michael B. Jordan on multiple occasions.
3 movies for each, guys. I've done 3 movies with Rocky. I said, how many people have done 3 movies with Rocky? Me. I did Balboa when Rocky fought his last fight. Even though I was the light-skinned brother in Antonio Tarver's corner, right? I was easy to find. And but I brought in my friends, Livingstone Bramble and Don House, to work the corner. I always bring friends with me, right? And then so yeah, I did that with him, and then Creed 1 and Creed 2, and then 3 with Michael B. Jordan, and getting ready for the 4th one.
So there will be a 4th one, right?
Yeah, Michael told me in the second one, I'm wrapping his hands and telling him how proud I am of him. And he said, Stitch, we went from being writers to actors, producers, and directors. And he looks at me like I'm looking at you and says, I'm directing Creed 3, and you're with me as long as you want. I said, my man.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I've done it. The first movie I did was with Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. Here Comes the Boom. And they just called me for that. They called me for all of these. And I did Ocean's 11. That's when I was Klitschko's cutman, when he fought Lennox Lewis. This is like 4 days of filming, but he remembered me, right? And then I did Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James, Salma Hayek, MMA movie, and then Creed 1, 2, and 3. So, and I did an independent with Edward James Olmos and Anderson Silva, but I never even counted that. But just to do one with him was great.
So is there one story that you can say, a funny story, that went on behind the Creed sets with Michael B. Jordan? Something that stands out?
Yeah, there was I think it was in the 3rd one. Yeah, you'll see when Jonathan Major's team, his cornerman gets a sponge and he squeezes it and he throws the water on him, right? Well, I guess somebody thought that was a good idea for them to do it in our corner. And in between rounds, I'm working on Michael and the director and the other extras in the other side. He gets a sponge and he goes like this and he throws it and I get water all over him and I'm like this. And the camera guy just laughing, man. Like, oh shit. So I said, no. We don't do that, man. That's horrible. So yeah, that was there have been some good scenes. I worked with Jose Benavides, right? And he was in the last Creed 3 movie, and we just had good times, in breaks. There was tons of breaks. But no, a lot of good times, man. So it's been a pleasure. A lot of work, but God, at least I say I've done it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And I love the Creed movies. I love all of Rocky movies. But that's great. I'm glad that you're going to be working on the next one.
Yeah.
Um, what about anything else in the future? I know that that you do training videos now and things like
Yeah.
that. Talk to me a
It's,
little bit
you
about
know, I love doing seminars, and but I can't do them all the time because, like I say, I got the next 5 weeks booked. So it's tough to really commit to a seminar, right? Last time I did one was in Mexico City. It's like 120 people, so it's well orchestrated. It's like 40 on Zoom, and but I can't do them all the time. So I decided to do it because education is major needed. It's needed in this game. And it's not fair to these fighters how you have guys that don't know how to take care of them, that say they're cutmen, say they're trainers, and it puts the fighter at a disadvantage. So I put a video called "Giving the Fighter One More Round," and it shows how to wrap. It shows everything: how to wrap hands for boxing, how to wrap hands for MMA, how to work on swelling, the medicines, what their functions are, what are used, how to work on cuts, and then the tools that you need to make your job perfect. It's only $50. It's not for me to make money. It's for you to pick it up and watch it, even as a fan, as a trainer, and pick it up. And if you want to just rent the segment where I'm showing you how to wrap hands for boxing, that's only like $10. So that's nothing, right? And it's not about the money. It's about making it available so everybody in this game, this industry, can learn how to do things the right way and take care of these fighters. Bro, there's so many myths in boxing. So many myths in boxing. Stacking. I've answered a lot of questions on stacking. The gauze, the tape, the gauze, the tape. That's bullshit. So
really.
Yeah. You want me to explain why?
Yeah.
But good question, man. So what happened is you remember Felix Trinidad when he fought Bernard Hopkins? Bernard Hopkins can't file the complaint that Trinidad was stacking gauze and tape and gauze and tape. And to me, the best rap I've ever seen in my life, and I have a very good rap, was Papa Trinidad. And I told him, I said, man, you got beautiful rap. Anyway, so when Canelo fought Triple G here in Las Vegas, Triple G's team filed a complaint that Canelo was stacking gauze and tape and gauze and tape. So Bob Bennett, that's the head of the athletic commission here at that time, called me. And first Tom Loeffler called me. He's the manager for Triple G that also we worked together with the Klitschko's. So we're friends. Mm-hmm. So he called me and asked me what I thought. And I said, it's bullshit. He said, the only reason you wrap a fighter's hands is they don't break it. Well, yeah, but Abe Sanchez says it turns into a cast. I said, man, you know how many times I wrap the hand, Tom, conventional ways, and guys say, man, it feels like a cast. That's what you want to create. So Bob Bennett, he called me and asked me the same thing, and I told him the same. It's bullshit. And so he came to the gym. I wrapped his hands conventional way, and the other one stacking. And the rule book says, let me get over here. The rule book says the tape has to be 1 inch away from the knuckle, 1 inch away from the knuckle coming down. As long as you got the same here, what difference does it make? It's padding, right? And so I wrapped his hands one way, and then conventional, and you feel the difference. So there's not. Everything comes with the tension you apply with the tape, how you apply it, where you apply it, and the pressure you put on it. Well, the next day he brought in a hand specialist, and I did the same thing. Conventional way stacking, he didn't feel the difference. I said, no, there's not. It's all the myths in boxing. Somebody, no, it's all bullshit.
Wow.
So I just educated you on that. And then there's still a lot of states that don't allow it. Yeah.
Yeah, you sure did. I was not aware of that. I mean, you hear about it all the time.
All the time. They don't, it's just, there's so many myths in boxing because, like I said, none of us have to be certified, Johnny. None of us have to be certified to come up with honest answers. I've done mine through over 30-something years of experience. And I've talked to the doctors, and I've experienced, and I've done this. I've gone through the whole networks of the best way to take care of a fighter. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, it is. A lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes, in boxing. You see the guys, out there fighting, but there's just so much on the back end, that we're not aware about. just like this. I mean, I was not aware of that. I'm glad that you actually cleared that up, and especially for my viewers, I think that's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, what I said earlier. If they were to make a movie about your life, is there a question? Is there any question on who play you?
Who? Edward James Olmos?
because you look just like him, man. I was the one that asked that question when you were on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I said if there was a movie that they
I told you, man, and it's funny because he has a thing out that they did an interview, and he says, yeah, he goes, people mistake me for Stitch all the time, you know, and it happened when I first met him the first time. I knew he was going to be at a UFC because him and Anderson Silva were going to do a movie together. So I'm in the back and I'm wrapping fighters' hands, and one of the UFC staff comes by and says, Edward James Olmos wants to meet you, you know. And man, I finished wrapping. I walk down the hall, I turn, and there's a big giant green screen where they take the pictures of the fighters, and he's there looking at me, and we start laughing. It's the same thing, bro. Same thing, and we talked for a while, and I ended up doing that movie.
Huh? Like twins, bro.
Oh yeah, no, it's insane, you know, and people stop me all over the world. Well, people stop me all over the United States, especially the raza, right? So I'm I'm doing the Creed 1, maybe Creed 2, and Sylvester Stallone, his buddy Frank, myself, we're on break, right? So we're talking to the makeup people, just chatting, and Frank, Rocky's friend, is bragging about me. That Stitch this and Stitch that, and best so and this and that, and he looks like Edward James Olmos, right? And roll like this, Sylvester Stallone, his arms are crossed. He goes, more like Edward James Olmos. He walked away. You know? Cold dude, man. But
that's
a better way to get knocked out than by Sylvester Stallone. Let me see your viewers. I think let me see if I can show it to them. Look at that.
I'll tell you, man.
It's crazy, huh?
Twins.
Yeah, it's twins. So,
man.
But a good guy.
Unbelievable. So where can my viewers find you, Stitch?
I'm at Stitch Duran, and that video that we just talked about, giving the fighter one more round, you could go to stitchduran.com and pick it up. And, you know, if you buy it for $50, you keep it forever. If you rent it for $10, you rent it for 2 weeks. And but through questions and all that, even when you buy the video, I'll always respond back to the ones that are buying it. And if they have any questions, I'll be able to answer them based on what they learned off the film. So yeah, it's education, bro. You know, so I have that. I'm working with a company that created a cream for cuts, CBD products with vegetable stem cell, with vitamin E and collagen and aloe vera. It's called the Cut Cream, Stitch Premium. And so we're coming out with that soon. I used that on the Bare Knuckle fighters when I was working with them. The guys that created it, when they called me and they asked me, I asked them if they had any proof source. And they said, no, man, that's what we need, called you. So we went to Florida. I would take them and they would sew them up, the fighters in the dressing room, and Jay would take a picture of them and give them the cream. And a week later, they would send the proof back, and proof has been tremendous. And so that's the Cut Cream's coming out. That's available right now, I think, at cutmanforhiresupplies.com and at Stitch Cuts with a Z.com. And so that's it. And then I have a cannabis line coming out. I'm meeting tomorrow. It's going to be a real high-end cannabis line. It's when they came to me, I told them the best weed I ever smoked was the year I was stationed in Thailand, Thai Stick. So if you can create something as good as that, then we'll call it Thai Stitch. So Thai Stitch is going to come out in the market. And I'll know more tomorrow. But check out the logo, man.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, but people approach me. I'm working with this other company that now are Old Bison. It's they have bourbon and vodka, and then they'll be getting into other brands and all that, and just things that spring off of doing what I do, bro. So I've been real blessed.
My man, listen, you are a true inspiration, man. And for my viewers, make sure you check out my man Stitch here. This video, I'm gonna check. Actually want to check out your video. I'm gonna get a copy of that. I'm very, very interested in education and stuff like that when it comes to. And what's crazy about this interview is I learned a lot.
Yeah, that's the point.
So it was an absolute honor to have you on, and you are always welcome back to the Hangout Spot. Hopefully, you'll come back at some point. For my viewers, if you're new to watching my videos, make sure you subscribe. This is how we do it up here at the Hangout Spot. Lots of great guests, legendary guests, like Stitch. So make sure you're along for the ride. But it's almost like I didn't want this to end. But
Yeah, I told you, man. It's people say, man, 15, 20 minutes. I said, nah, it never works out.
it never works out that way.
It works out, man. So nah, it's a pleasure. And listen, you got my number. I've done multiple interviews with multiple people, and from your 500, I want to make sure you get 500,000. So
We're working on it.
so, all right. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you some exclusive shit that just happened right before we got on board. Right before I got on the air, I just finished talking to Jose Benavides, and looked like I'm gonna be part of the Benavides team for this fight coming up on the 15th. And
Nice.
they're on, and the thing with the father, yeah. See, I'm giving you 100% scoop that I haven't. Nobody knows. The only one that knows is my wife. All right, so I'll be working with her, but it makes so much sense because we talked about the Tim Tszyu fight, but I've been going to the UFC 9 years. About 10 years ago, Jose, the father, was training Ryan Bader and some of the UFC fighters in Arizona, and we were in London for a UFC show, and we're on the bus going to the weigh-ins, and I'm sitting next to Jose, and he tells me, he goes, I have two sons, and they're both going to be world champions. Yeah, I hear that all the time. And but he had two sons that both became world champions, Jose and David. So when I saw them when Spence fought Ugas in Dallas, they're all sitting down eating, and I came up to him and said, I want to let you guys know, David and Jose, your father 10 years ago told me that both of you guys were going to be world champions. And sure enough, and Jose, of course, I did the Creed movie with him, and David, yeah. So anyway, that's the scoop, bro. I'll be
Good.
working with him, and then
Congratulations, man. That's a big deal, man. David,
yeah, no, it's big. It's we talked about a long-term deal, and it's good for me to work with people I love, good people. So you got the scoop right there.
that's awesome, man. I'm trying to get Jose Senior on to do a video with me one day, man, because I
I'll
admire.
get it for you.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, because I admire the whole father-son training combination and the way they do it. I've seen a lot of their videos, like behind the scenes and stuff like that. I admire. David's one of my favorite fighters. I love watching Jose Jr. Like anybody else, I want to see David and Canelo go at it.
Yeah.
But who knows if that's ever going to happen, especially not in the near future. But listen, congratulations, man. Thank you for providing that for me. That's a big deal. I mean, like I said.
Yeah, no, it's big, and like I was telling his father, I said, in the media, when the media gets hold of it, it's going to be big because it makes so much sense. David right now is the young superstar, and he's only going to be going up. So before, his father did everything, but I think they realize now that he's at a different level in his career, that you need to look at all angles and minimize the probabilities of damage coming to him. And he says, you're the best in the business, because he's known me for years and years. So yeah, I'm honored to be part of the Benavides team.
That's amazing, man. Congratulations on that. And hopefully I get a chance to catch up with you real quick in Miami.
Yeah.
In some capacity, maybe we could run into each other. That would be absolutely awesome. And like I said, my viewers, if you're new to watching, please subscribe. Make sure you follow my man Stitch, the best that has ever done it. This is your boy Johnny, signing out from the Hangout Spots with legendary cutman Stitch Duran. And I'll talk to everybody soon.